Hey everybody, and welcome to Epic Everyday, our weekday podcast for busy, stressed out Christians who want to really thrive instead of just kind of get through life. I'm Liz Frericks, and this is my husband, Evan.
Good morning.
And we're so glad you guys are here with us on this wonderful Monday.
Yeah, Opportunity Day.
Seriously, I love it. Whole week stretching out. Who knows what could happen? It's like the beginning of an adventure.
Yeah, and this feels like a big Opportunity Day for us anyway, because we took a week off and getting back into recording episodes feels good. Happy to be back.
It is nice. It was definitely different, being on a totally different schedule and traveling around.
Yeah, it was fun. We were missing our routine though too.
So, as you guys know, our show is structured around the CSCs, adaptations of Peter Ralston's Tai Chi principles. They are being calm, surrendered, centered, connected, and complete. And so we talk about one of those each weekday and go through a topic, which this week we are going to talk about patience. And it's really just supposed to be a reminder show, because everybody needs a reminder.
Yeah, I mean, all through the Bible we see reminders, and I think in our own personal lives we can see that. I mean, that's kind of the value of mentors and friendships and parents. I mean, how often are we reminding our kids about this and that?
Totally.
It's necessary.
Yeah. So if you're hearing something you've already heard before, good. Especially if it's something that you know but may not necessarily be applying.
Yeah.
Because that's what we need reminded of.
Mm-hmm. So this week we're going to be talking about part of the fruit of the Spirit of patience.
And since it's Monday, we're going to talk about being calm.
So the thing I thought about with this was the phrase that's in the Bible over and over again, be still. Mm-hmm. How hard, patience for me, impatience just feels like kind of jittery, spastic activity, right? Trying to rush over here and maybe tweak this thing and go over here and make this happen. And
right.
It's not stillness, and it's definitely not peace,
Right.
So that's when I can see myself clearly and I know that I'm not being patient, that's what I feel like. I'm just kind of buzzing,
Yeah.
and I'm not being still.
Yeah. Well, I think since we live in a culture of kind of instant society where it's like, you have instant everything.
Yeah.
I've noticed this with our computer issues. We've been using a couple of older computers. And I get so cranky when it's like, this is taking 10 seconds to change websites.
Yeah.
Well,
I know. Yeah. It's funny at work, trying to mess with new computer programs and stuff. Just talking about latency being, we're old enough to remember in the 90s what being on the internet was like. You click on something and you wait. But we can't handle that anymore. There should be no waiting.
Yeah.
You should just click and it should be there. So we're definitely priming ourselves to not be patient.
It's true. Yeah. We have developed an impatience.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, why are we doing that to ourselves? What are we worried about? Like if we have to sit still and wait for something, like especially if you click on something and you have to wait 20 seconds or, whatever is not happening fast enough. Why is that so stressful? What is the pending doom, that this buzz and flurry of activity is somehow preventing?
Right. Well, there's two things that I had kind of in my mind. One was, a hamster on a wheel. We're all trying to run fast enough to get off the wheel. Mm-hmm. And obviously that doesn't work very well, but we're all trying to run fast enough that we have extra time to relax somewhere or extra money to be able to either retire or, to be able to do some things that are important to us. They're not necessarily bad reasons. It's just that we have a bad idea of how that works.
Right. So we're not understanding the situation, right? So
right.
The
We're running faster instead of smarter.
Yeah. The hamster needs to turn to the left or the right. And then they could get off the wheel. So there's something of that, where we're just not understanding how it really works, the life system that God has set up. And so we're running. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So I thought of that. And then I also thought of, there's no room for patience in a life where everything is, the straw that breaks your camel's back. And that's kind of like I've been there. We're in overwhelm mode where every little thing just feels huge because it's on top of a bunch of other things.
Oh, yeah.
So,
it's easy to get there there's 100 ways to get there. I mean, having kids is a great way to get there. Being sick is a great way to be there. Being in school, there's a lot of pressure there, or having a new job, or just trying to get ahead and get promoted. Yeah,
so
put that pressure on.
If we live a life that's already, we're already stressed out with a bunch of other things, then when somebody cuts you off when you're driving, or, I get really cranky when people are driving super slow in front of me, because I'm just like, that is so dangerous. You're driving under the speed limit. You're going to get in an accident. But
yep, you do.
Well, that's my experience,
Yeah, it is frustrating.
But so there are these things that are really not that big of a deal. But because we're already on the verge of freak out and overwhelm, each little thing it really is the straw that breaks your camel's back,
Mm-hmm. I think this thing about patience for me that is hard to accept, this one of the definitions we read, and we'll probably refer to it throughout the week, is long suffering.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of, okay, I could, we're talking about being still. And part of when we're being still with God is, I think we're being connected to his solution to the whatever it is, right? We're trusting that he has a solution, and that our hope is in his idea of what resolving this looks like. But when we're getting caught up in the busy, I think I've lost sight of that idea of God's idea. So the idea of long suffering I thought was really interesting was when you have the power to do something and you choose not to. Wasn't that part of that definition? Yeah, maybe we should just read it.
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't I just read the definition? So this comes out of the Complete Word Study Dictionary, New Testament, and this is the word from Galatians 5:22, I believe it is. Macrothumia means to be long-suffering. It means forbearance, self-restraint before proceeding to action. It is the quality of a person who is able to avenge himself, yet refrains from doing so. Macrothumia is patience in respect to persons, while hupomone, endurance, is putting up with things or circumstances. That part about having the ability but not utilizing it, and I think we see that in patience, because in that be still moment, you have the ability to keep going, and instead you don't.
Yeah, and I think that's the tricky part about being, human beings created in the image of God. We have so much agency and a lot of power, really. God has blessed us with free will and a certain amount of power, and so we can use that to run around and start doing stuff. We can also use that power to engage in patience, and trust God and be still. And there's a choice there.
I think a big part of it, though, is this idea, a misunderstanding that patience is not productive.
Right.
And I was actually kind of excited that we were talking about this time of year, because it's the growing things season where you're planting things. And
it's busy.
And one of the things I was thinking about is, as a little kid planting seeds, it was so hard not to go out and check and be like, okay, are they sprouted yet? And I definitely did check every day to see if they were sprouted.
It's fun
but
to
I didn't dig them up.
Oh,
you know? If you dig up your seeds every day and be like, have they sprouted? Have they sprouted yet? You're going to end up preventing your seeds from sprouting, or from growing healthily. Yeah.
So we can be so busy that we're actually kind of cutting our legs off.
Right. It's completely counterproductive, but we don't see it that way because we're conditioned as a society to fill every single moment, We've talked about that before, even just not getting on your phone when you're waiting in line.
Yeah.
And just standing there. It's hard sometimes. I have to make myself stare at a wall. Because it's not, my personality is to be going all the time. So to be like, and now I'm just going to lay here. Even at bedtime, we started doing meditation about a year ago, and it's been so good for me because I need that time to just chill and not be thinking, what do I need to do tomorrow? What did I get done today? What didn't get done today?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of this is trusting in God's idea of what is good and being patient. We're going to talk about it as the week goes by. Patience, we don't just muster it up ourselves either. It's a gift of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
So it sounds impossible, and that's partly because it is, Just what we want to talk about today, I think, is there's a hope in God's plan. We don't understand it. We don't get why not doing nothing.
Not doing
a
nothing.
lot. Yeah. I mean, silence and solitude, these different religious practices or even meditation, you're just sitting there.
Right.
How is that good for anything? But in God's economy, it is. And it involves a lot of patience.
Right. A lot of just letting the seed do its work, letting it grow, and yes, watching it and watering it and things like that, continuing in faith. But there's an element of just waiting. Yeah.
And I think that faith is in, and that hope comes from our understanding of God and our idea that God is willing and able to intervene in our lives for good. And he does. He is the productive one. He is the one bringing blessing and productivity and abundance.
Right.
And when we start to try to bring all that about, patience is out the window and we're just buzzing around.
Spinning our wheels.
Yeah. It's tricky because, like I said, we can do some stuff on our own. I mean, people have done amazing things without God, in our eyes, right? In our kind of judgment of things, they've built skyscrapers and ships that can sail across the ocean and, who knows what. But the things that matter to God is what we want to lock in. And that doesn't mean we won't be building ships and airplanes and things, but
right.
It's not going to be as frenzied.
Frenzied.
Yeah.
Frenzied.
Yeah.
I do love that. Psalm 46:10 is one of those I have in my verse cards. The be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Like just this idea that only when we're still can we really know who God is and align ourselves with who God designed us to be, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So this is a pretty key practice.
Yeah. So maybe give yourself a challenge to meditate before bed. I mean, I think that's a great place to start. Take 10 minutes before you fall asleep. You put your phone down. It's just so easy to run right.
If you are not a good meditator like me, then pick your phone up and download, Headspace or Calm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or Insight. Those are all great meditation apps.
That's right.
Used all three of them.
Yeah. You can use it as a tool to help. I mean, we have access to so many wonderful tools. We need to actually use some of them. Give them a try.
Totally. As always, pick whether today is going to be awesome or not, whether you're going to create those neural pathways or strengthen those neural pathways to look for the good in your life, the ways that God is working, the reasons that we can have hope, those little, those little signposts that we're on the right track.
Yeah, we want to be looking for the good and the things that God has for us. Yep. If we're looking for them, through God's grace, we'll find them.
We love you guys, and we're praying for you. Thanks to everybody that's been sharing the show and listening to the show. We really appreciate it. If you have found this podcast helpful, please do continue to share it. And come back tomorrow, and we are going to talk about patience in prayer. Kind of waiting for God to do what he's going to do. Have an awesome Monday, you guys.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Bye.